Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. The corner office on the 50th floor stood silent, its panoramic view of the city skyline a stark contrast to the turmoil within its occupant. Robert Blackwell, CEO of Titan Industries, sat motionless behind his imposing mahogany desk, his eyes fixed on the glittering metropolis beyond the glass. The weight of countless decisions, mergers, and corporate battles pressed down on his shoulders like an invisible burden. He loosened his tie, a small act of rebellion against the suffocating corporate world he'd built around himself. The corner of his desk caught his eye, a framed photo of his younger self, grinning widely on a beach, without a care in the world. When was the last time he'd felt that free? A gentle knock at the door snapped him back to reality.
"Come in!"
he called, his voice rough from disuse. His assistant, a petite woman with expertly coiffed hair, stepped inside. "Mr. Blackwell, your 3:00 is here." Robert waved a hand dismissively.
"Cancel it. Cancel everything for the rest of the day. In fact, clear my schedule for the next month."
The assistant's eyes widened in surprise.
"Sir, are you feeling all right?"
"Never better," Robert replied, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth.
"I'm taking a sabbatical, effective immediately."
As his assistant stammered her acknowledgments and retreated from the office, Robert turned back to the window. His reflection stared back at him, graying hair, lines etched deep around his eyes, the cut of his expensive suit doing little to hide the toll of years of stress and late nights. It was time for a change. A big one. The next morning, Robert found himself in a nondescript building on the outskirts of the city. The sign on the door read New You Transformations. His heart raced as he pushed it open, the bell above tinkling softly. A woman with vibrant purple hair greeted him with a warm smile. "Welcome to New You. I'm Zoe. How can we help you today?" Robert cleared his throat. I'm not entirely sure. I want to try something different. Very different." Zoe's smile widened. "That's what we're here for. Why don't you tell me what you have in mind?" As Robert explained his desires, his voice grew stronger, more confident. Zoe listened without judgment, nodding encouragingly. "We can absolutely help you with that," she said when he finished. "Let's start with some basics. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, we'll take it step by step." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Robert's salt and pepper hair was transformed into flowing chestnut locks. Zoe's expert hands applied makeup, contouring his features into a softer, more feminine appearance. A wardrobe consultant helped him select an array of clothing that both flattered and felt comfortable. As Robert stood before the full-length mirror, he barely recognized himself. Gone was the stern CEO in a power suit. In his place stood a woman with soft curves, smoky eyes, and a hesitant smile. "What do you think?" Zoe asked, standing beside him. Robert ran a hand down the soft fabric of the floral dress he wore. "I feel free," he whispered. Zoe squeezed his shoulder. "You look beautiful. Now, have you thought about a name?" Robert considered for a moment. "Thalia," he said finally. "I'd like to be Thalia." "Well, Thalia," Zoe said, "welcome to your new life." The following weeks were a revelation for Thalia. She rented a modest apartment across town, far from the corporate world she'd left behind. Each day brought new experiences and challenges as she navigated life from a completely different perspective. She found joy in the simplest things. The way the sunlight filtered through the gauzy curtains in her new bedroom, the scent of fresh flowers she bought for her kitchen table, the feel of a soft sweater against her skin. Thalia reveled in these small pleasures, marveling at how much she'd missed in her previous life. One morning, Thalia decided to venture out to a local cafe. She chose a light sundress in a pale yellow, pairing it with comfortable sandals. As she walked down the street, she felt a mix of exhilaration and nervousness. Would people see through her? Would they stare? To her relief, no one gave her a second glance. She was just another woman out for a morning coffee. The cafe was bustling with the morning rush. Thalia joined the queue, fidgeting slightly with the strap of her purse. When it was her turn, she smiled at the barista. "Good morning," she said, her voice soft and slightly higher than its natural register. "I'll have a vanilla latte, please." The barista, a young man with a friendly face, smiled back. "Coming right up. Can I get a name for the order?" "Thalia," she replied, feeling a thrill at using her new name. As she waited for her drink, Thalia observed the other patrons. A group of women chatted animatedly at a corner table. A man in a business suit tapped furiously at his laptop. A couple shared a quiet moment over their coffees. "Vanilla latte for Thalia." She collected her drink, savoring the warmth of the cup in her hands. Finding an empty table by the window, Thalia sat down and took a sip. The rich, sweet flavor spread across her tongue, and she closed her eyes in contentment. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Thalia looked up to see a woman gesturing to the chair across from her. She had curly red hair and a smattering of freckles across her nose. "No, please, sit down," Thalia replied, gesturing to the chair. The woman smiled gratefully. "Thanks, it's crazy busy in here today. I'm Lorena, by the way." "Thalia," she responded, returning the smile. Lorena settled into her chair, placing her muffin and coffee on the table. "So, Thalia, are you a regular here? I don't think I've seen you before." "No, it's my first time, actually," Thalia admitted. "I'm new to the area." "Oh, welcome," Lorena said enthusiastically. "How are you liking it so far?" As they chatted, Thalia found herself relaxing. Lorena was easy to talk to, her laugh infectious. For the first time in years, Thalia felt the simple pleasure of making a new friend. Their conversation was interrupted by the chiming of Lorena's phone. She glanced at it and sighed. "That's my alarm. I've got to run. I clean houses for a living, and my first client of the day is in half an hour." "It was nice meeting you, Lorena," Thalia said sincerely. Lorena hesitated for a moment, then pulled out a business card. "Here, take this. If you ever need any cleaning done or just want to grab coffee again, give me a call." Thalia accepted the card with a smile. "I might just do that. Thank you." As Lorena left, Thalia sat back in her chair, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the latte. She'd done it. She'd gone out as Thalia, had a normal interaction, even made a potential friend. The world hadn't ended. If anything, it felt like it was just beginning. Over the next few weeks, Thalia settled into her new life. She explored the city, trying new restaurants and visiting museums she'd never had time for before. She even started volunteering at a local animal shelter, finding joy in caring for the abandoned cats and dogs. One evening, as she was leaving the shelter, her phone buzzed with a text from Lorena. "Hey, Thalia, some friends and I are going dancing tonight. Want to join?" Thalia hesitated. She hadn't been to a club since college, and certainly not as a woman. But the thought of spending another night alone in her apartment didn't appeal either. "Sure, why not?" she texted back. "Where should I meet you?" An hour later, Thalia stood outside a trendy nightclub, fidgeting nervously with the hem of her black dress. She'd spent far too long deciding what to wear, finally settling on a simple, elegant outfit that she hoped wouldn't draw too much attention. "Thalia, over here!" She turned to see Lorena waving from near the entrance. Her red hair was styled in loose waves, and she wore a shimmering green top that complemented her eyes. "You look amazing!" Lorena exclaimed, giving Thalia a quick hug. "Come on, I'll introduce you to everyone." Inside, the music pulsed loudly, the bass thrumming through Thalia's body. Lorena led her to a group of people gathered near the bar. "Everyone, this is my friend Thalia." Thalia smiled shyly as she was introduced to Lorena's friends. They welcomed her warmly, quickly drawing her into their conversation. As the night progressed, Thalia found herself relaxing, even venturing onto the dance floor. As she moved to the music, letting the rhythm guide her, Thalia felt a sense of freedom she'd never experienced before. Here, in the pulsing lights and thumping beats, she wasn't Robert the CEO or even Thalia the newcomer. She was just another person, losing herself in the moment. Later, as they took a break at the bar, Lorena leaned in close to be heard over the music. "I'm so glad you came out tonight. You seemed a bit shy at first, but look at you now." Thalia laughed, a carefree sound that surprised even her. "I haven't had this much fun in years," she admitted. Lorena's eyes sparkled. "Well, we'll have to do this more often then." As the night wore on, Thalia found herself opening up more to Lorena. They shared stories and laughter, and Thalia felt a connection forming that went beyond mere friendship. There was something about Lorena's warmth and acceptance that made Thalia want to let her guard down completely. It was nearly 2 a.m. when they finally left the club, both slightly tipsy and giddy with the night's excitement. As they waited for their respective Ubers, Lorena turned to Thalia with a serious expression. "You know, Thalia, I'm really glad we met. There's something special about you." Thalia felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the alcohol. "I feel the same way," she said softly. Lorena's Uber arrived first. As she climbed in, she leaned out the window. "Let's do brunch tomorrow. I know a great place." Thalia nodded, waving as the car pulled away. As she waited for her own ride, she couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen and accepted for who she was. The next morning, Thalia woke to a pounding headache and a flurry of text messages from Lorena confirming their brunch plans. Despite the hangover, she couldn't help but smile as she remembered the previous night. She took her time getting ready, carefully applying her makeup and choosing a breezy summer dress in a soft blue. As she looked at herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the person staring back at her. Gone was the stressed, stern CEO. In his place was a woman who looked happy. The brunch spot Lorena had chosen was a charming little cafe with outdoor seating. Thalia arrived to find Lorena already there, looking fresh and vibrant despite the late night. "There you are," Lorena called, waving her over. "I wasn't sure you'd make it after last night." Thalia laughed as she sat down. "I'll admit I considered canceling, but I'm glad I didn't." As they perused the menu, Lorena leaned in conspiratorially. "So, I have to ask, is there someone special in your life? You never mentioned anyone." Thalia felt a moment of panic. How much should she reveal? But looking into Lorena's open, friendly face, she made a decision. "It's complicated," she began. "I'm actually going through some big changes in my life right now. I'm not really the person I used to be." Lorena nodded encouragingly. "Change can be good, though, right?" "Yes," Thalia said slowly. "But it's also scary. I'm still figuring out who I am." Lorena reached across the table and squeezed Thalia's hand. "Well, whoever you are, I think you're pretty great." Thalia felt tears prick at her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of their food. As they ate, they chatted about lighter topics, favorite movies, travel dreams, funny stories from Lorena's cleaning jobs. Thalia found herself laughing more than she had in years. As they were finishing up, Lorena's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and grimaced. It's work. One of my clients needs me to come in today. I'm so sorry, but I have to run." "No worries," Thalia assured her. "This was lovely." Lorena hesitated for a moment, then leaned in and planted a quick kiss on Thalia's cheek. "Let's do this again soon," she said with a wink before hurrying off. Thalia sat there, her hand on her cheek where Lorena had kissed her, feeling a mix of emotions she couldn't quite name. There was happiness, certainly, but also a twinge of guilt. Lorena didn't know the whole truth about her. Would she still feel the same if she knew? Over the next few weeks, Thalia and Lorena grew closer. They met for coffee, went shopping together, and even took a day trip to a nearby beach. Thalia found herself opening up more and more, sharing parts of herself she'd never revealed to anyone before. But as her feelings for Lorena deepened, so did her anxiety about her secret. She knew she needed to tell Lorena the truth, but the fear of rejection held her back. One evening, as they were walking through a park after dinner, Lorena stopped suddenly and turned to face Thalia. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice serious. Thalia's heart raced. "What is it?" Lorena took a deep breath. "I think I'm falling in love with you, Thalia. I know we haven't known each other that long, but there's something special between us. I can feel it." Thalia felt a mix of joy and panic. This was everything she'd hoped for, but it also meant she couldn't put off the truth any longer.
"Lorena, I feel the same way," she began, "but there's something I need to tell you. Something important." Lorena's brow furrowed in concern. "What is it? You can tell me anything." Thalia took a deep breath, steeling herself. "I haven't always been Thalia," she said softly. "I was born Robert Blackwell. I was the CEO of a major corporation, but I was miserable. I've always felt like I was living the wrong life. Being Thalia, it's who I truly am." She held her breath, waiting for Lorena's reaction. To her surprise, Lorena's expression softened into a smile. "Oh, Thalia," she said, reaching out to take her hand. "Thank you for trusting me with this. It doesn't change how I feel about you. If anything, it makes me admire you even more. It takes incredible courage to be true to yourself like that." Thalia felt tears welling up in her eyes. "You're not disgusted? Angry?" Lorena shook her head firmly. "Not at all. You're still the same person I've been falling for. The person who makes me laugh, who listens to me, who dances like no one's watching. That's who you are, Thalia. The rest is just details." Unable to contain her emotions any longer, Thalia pulled Lorena into a tight embrace. As they held each other, Thalia felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she felt truly accepted and loved for who she was. As they pulled apart, Lorena cupped Thalia's face in her hands. "I love you, Thalia. All of you." "I love you too," Thalia whispered back. In that moment, standing in the moonlit park, Thalia knew she had finally found her true self and her true happiness. The months that followed were the happiest of Thalia's life. With Lorena's unwavering support, she began to fully embrace her identity. They moved in together, creating a home filled with love and acceptance. However, Thalia knew she couldn't run from her past forever. The company she had built still needed her, even if she was no longer the same person who had founded it. After much discussion with Lorena, Thalia decided it was time to return to Titan Industries, but on her own terms. The day she walked back into the office building was surreal. The security guard did a double-take, but said nothing as she presented her ID. In the elevator, she could feel curious eyes on her, but she held her head high. Her former assistant's jaw dropped when Thalia walked into the outer office. "Mr. Blackwell?" she gasped. "It's Miss Blackwell now," Thalia corrected gently. "Or Thalia, if you prefer. Is the board assembled?" Still stunned, the assistant nodded. "Yes, ma'am. They're waiting in the conference room." Thalia took a deep breath, smoothing down her tailored navy suit. "Thank you. Let's not keep them waiting." The room fell silent as Thalia entered. She could see the shock and confusion on the faces of the board members, men she had worked with for years, who had known her as Robert. "Gentlemen," she began, her voice steady. "I know this comes as a surprise. I've undergone some significant changes during my absence. But I assure you, my commitment to this company and its success remains unchanged." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I stand before you today as Thalia Blackwell. This is who I truly am and who I will be moving forward. I understand if this is difficult to process, but I hope we can continue to work together productively." The room was quiet for a moment before the oldest board member, a man who had been with the company since its inception, stood up. "Thalia," he said, testing out the name. "I won't pretend to understand everything about this situation, but I do know this. You built this company from nothing. You've led us through crises and triumphs. If this is who you truly are, then we're with you." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Thalia felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you," she said sincerely. "Now, let's get down to business, shall we?"
The meeting proceeded, and Thalia found herself slipping back into the role of CEO with ease. But this time it felt different. She was leading not as a persona she had constructed, but as her authentic self. As the weeks passed, Thalia settled into her new routine. She balanced her corporate responsibilities with her personal life, making sure to prioritize her relationship with Lorena and the new friendships she had formed. One day, as she was leaving her office, she encountered Chris, an executive who had always rubbed her the wrong way even in her previous life as Robert.
Well, well,
Chris sneered, looking Thalia up and down. If it isn't our fearless leader, tell me, do you think the shareholders will be as accepting of this charade? Thalia felt a flash of anger, but kept her composure. My personal life is not up for discussion, Chris. I suggest you focus on your work instead of my appearance. Chris stepped closer, his voice low and threatening.
You may have fooled the others, but I see right through you. You're still just playing dress-up. It's pathetic, really. Before Thalia could respond, a voice cut through the tension. Is there a problem here? Lorena stood in the doorway, a determined look on her face. She had come to surprise Thalia with lunch. Chris backed away, his sneer fading. No problem at all. Just a friendly chat between colleagues. As he hurried off, Lorena turned to Thalia with concern. Are you okay? What was that about? Thalia sighed, the weight of the confrontation settling on her shoulders. Just some workplace harassment. Nothing I can't handle. Lorena's eyes flashed with anger. That's not okay, Thalia. You shouldn't have to deal with that. You're right,
Thalia agreed, a steely resolve forming in her mind.
And I won't. Not anymore.
The next day, Thalia called Chris into her office. He swaggered in, clearly expecting to intimidate her again.
Chris, I'm terminating your employment, effective immediately,
Thalia stated calmly.
His smug expression faltered. What? You can't do that. I can, and I am, Thalia replied firmly. Your behavior yesterday was unacceptable. This company has a zero-tolerance policy for harassment of any kind. You're done here.
As security escorted a sputtering Chris from the building, Thalia felt a sense of empowerment. She had faced her bully head-on, not as Robert pretending to be tough, but as Thalia standing up for herself. That evening, as she recounted the day's events to Lorena over dinner, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. I'm proud of you, Lorena said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. You're amazing. You know that? Thalia smiled, feeling truly content for the first time in her life. I'm just being who I was always meant to be, she replied, and I couldn't have done it without you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.